They say curiosity killed the cat, but I've always believed that's a clever way of telling people to stay away from the truth. Sometimes, the truth is more dangerous than any legend, especially when it lurks behind barbed wire and classified projects. When the first wave of missing persons reports crossed my desk at the County Chronicle, I doubted I'd be rewriting my entire understanding of what the government buries beneath its bases. Now, I wish I'd never looked into it at all. The small mountain town of High Point was never a hotbed of unusual crimes. It thrived on mining in the early 1900s and later pivoted to tourism, with visitors seeking crisp air and scenic vistas. But deep in the wooded foothills, a sprawling fence signalled the boundary of a rumoured top-secret military installation. Some said it was a weapons testing site. Others whispered about UFO research. The official name on record was Site Echo, and the government insisted it was merely an outpost for routine training. But last autumn, the local sheriff's department released a cryptic bulletin. 4 hikers missing near the perimeter of Site Echo in the span of 2 weeks. In the following weeks, more vanishings trickled in. A teenage couple who snuck out to stargaze and never returned. A hermit living off-grid whose cabin was found abandoned with a half-eaten meal on the table. And a family's camper discovered empty near the base's fence line. By late October, the count soared to over 20 people. The authorities scrambled, forming search parties and helicopter sweeps. But the leads dried up like dust in the wind. My editor assigned me, a rookie reporter named Sam Fenton, to investigate the growing puzzle. I pored over missing persons data, interviewed rescue teams, looked through microfilm archives for anything resembling an explanation. The scariest part was that the official statements remained suspiciously tight-lipped. The base's public affairs rep offered only the bland reassurance that the base had no involvement, urging people to follow local trespassing laws. Meanwhile, the vanishings escalated. "Listen, Sam, I've been on this job 15 years, Sheriff Alvarez told me when I visited him in his cramped office. People go missing in the wilderness sometimes. Accidents, falls, animal attacks. But this many, in the same area, all within 2 months? Not normal." Behind him, a map pinned to a corkboard showed the region around Site Echo, dotted with red pushpins marking the vanishings. The cluster formed an almost perfect semicircle around the base's fence perimeter. "You see that distribution?" Alvarez tapped the pins. "None inside the fence. All just outside, in a rough ring. Something mighty fishy going on." I scribbled notes, frowning. Could it be the base's security force capturing trespassers? He shook his head. "It's possible they detain wanderers, but then they do it quietly, not let them vanish entirely. Official channels would handle arrests, paperwork. This is different. My deputies found no footprints beyond a point, no bodies, no signs of struggle either. For some reason, this absolutely terrified me. I tried to maintain a calm demeanour. "Any chance it's a wild predator?" Alvarez sighed, tossing a photograph across the desk. An image of the base fence at dawn, with a bizarre scorch mark on the ground. Predators don't leave scorch marks. They don't make entire campers vanish without a trace. Something else is going on, Sam. Something we can't explain." I left the station trembling, my mind spinning with theories of Black Ops abductions or top-secret weapons. The official missing persons tally reached 31 by then, spreading fear throughout the county. Families locked their doors, hikers cancelled trips, and rumour upon rumour churned about the base's involvement. One early morning, determined to see for myself, I drove out to the base's perimeter fence. The single-lane dirt road was almost deserted. Eventually, I spotted the tall chain-link barrier up ahead, crowned with razor wire. A sign read, "No trespassing. US government property. Deadly force authorised." My old Jeep's engine rattled as I parked on a turnout. The fence extended in both directions, seemingly endless. I stepped out, with my camera slung around my neck, not sure what I hoped to find. Cautiously, I followed the fence line for about half a mile, scanning for clues. At one point, I stumbled across a battered hiking backpack lying against the fence, half buried in fallen leaves. A hint of stale sweat and decay wafted from it. In trepidation, I unzipped it. Inside, there was a wallet with a library card belonging to Sarah L. Benton, one of the missing hikers. The rest of her gear was intact. She just had a water bottle, protein bars, and a small first aid kit. I rifled through it in shock. No sign of a struggle, and no footprints either. Just a bag left behind. Something about the quiet unnerved me. I snapped photos of the area and then moved on, forcing my trembling legs to keep searching. All throughout, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every rustle in the bushes made me spin around, but after a while, I chided myself for being so jumpy. After an hour though, the rising anxiety overcame me. Clutching the backpack, I hurried back to the Jeep, eager to be away from that silent, watchful fence line. Back in town, I showed the backpack to the sheriff. He grimly confirmed it belonged to Sarah Benton, last seen 4 weeks ago. More evidence of a swirling mystery, yet no solutions. I wrote an article for the Chronicle detailing the find, but the base spokesman offered only the same dismissive line. No comment, ongoing investigation. Then, the final push came. I received a cryptic email from an unknown address with a single line of text. "What's in there is older than us. Don't trust official statements." Attached was a blurry photograph of a large hole or tunnel in the ground, half obscured by rubble. The metadata was stripped, no location, no date, but it looked subterranean, possibly beneath the base. If there was something hidden under Site Echo, maybe it would explain everything. Maybe a subterranean facility or an ancient chamber. I'd read many things online about conspiracy theories. The photo was too vague to confirm, but I needed to know. A few days later, I found myself in the passenger seat of an unmarked car with my friend Jun, a freelance photographer. Under the cover of darkness, we planned to approach another section of the base's perimeter, hoping to capture evidence of suspicious activity. It was reckless, definitely not legal, but the vanishings demanded answers. The official lines offered none. We parked off a dirt track, killing the headlights. You could feel a distinct tension in the air. Jun and I trudged through thick brush, guided by flashlights covered with red filters. The plan was simple. Get close enough to observe any patrols, maybe see if there was an entrance or structure inside. Document everything, then slip away. We reached a vantage point on a small rise. The fence was about 100 yards below us. The base's interior stretched beyond. dim lights flickering among a handful of low-slung buildings. Further in, a cluster of black shapes that could have been hangars or bunkers. No sign of heavy personnel presence. For nearly an hour, we crouched among the bushes, trying to stay as quiet as we could. At around midnight, something changed. Faint lights glowed deeper inside the base, as if large floodlights were activating. A mechanical hum drifted across the silent land. Jun snapped photos with his long-lens camera, cursing the darkness. Then we heard a rumble, almost like an earthquake or giant machinery rumbling underground. Suddenly, from behind us, a twig snapped. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jun's face turn pale. Another snap, but louder this time. We spun around and flicked off our flashlights. We then heard a horrifying sound between a growl and thick liquid being stirred. I'd never heard anything like it. In total panic, I fumbled for my small handheld camera, flipping it to night vision. The screen displayed a grainy green image. I span it to look behind us. I couldn't believe what I saw. A tall, hunched shape moved between the trunks, limbs too long for a normal man. Patches of glistening hide or exoskeleton caught the faint light. It advanced with an almost insectoid grace, trailing a thick fluid behind it. Jun suppressed a gasp, snapping photos wildly. I still struggled to comprehend what I was seeing. But the creature was real, creeping forward, apparently unaware we'd even seen it. Then, a strobe of base floodlights flickered across the fence line, momentarily illuminating the hillside. In that flash, I saw the creature's face. A twisted amalgam of human features and monstrous distortions. Its eyes, if you could call them eyes, reflected the floodlights back. Possibly once human, but now something else entirely. The strobe died, and we were plunged back into near darkness. But the creature hissed, alerted by the flash. It turned to face us, letting out a hideous rasp. I squeaked, "Run!" Jun and I sprinted blindly down the slope, away from the fence, away from that abomination. The underbrush snagged our clothes. The thing was definitely behind us, but I didn't dare look back. Just when I felt like it would close in, the footsteps slowed. It let out a frustrated hiss and then retreated, perhaps not wishing to stray too far from the base. We kept sprinting until we collapsed at the car, with our chests heaving. We sped back to town, too shaken to speak. The images on Jun's camera, though dark and grainy, revealed enough. So that's what took those people, or what they became. The missing ones, or at least some of them, might have turned into these monstrous beings. But how? Why? We huddled in my living room, reviewing the evidence. Jun, pale and trembling, insisted we had to release the photos immediately. "This proves something unnatural is inside that base, Sam," he proclaimed. "We can't keep it hidden." I managed to convince him that we didn't want to draw unnecessary attention to us straight away. Besides, plenty of photos in the past have been dismissed or debunked as hoaxes. We had to be sure, and maybe have some physical evidence to back the photos up. Days later, a terse statement hit the local news. Official report: dozens gone missing near top secret base. The bulletin was posted on the county's website, apparently forced by sheer weight of public outcry. It acknowledged the disappearance count had risen above 40 and that multiple agencies were investigating. The base's name was absent from the text, replaced by sanitized language about federal installations. Under normal circumstances, this would have stoked an uproar. But fear overshadowed everything. People read the official report and locked their doors, refusing to go near the site. Rumours soared. A viral infection, mutated animals, secret experiments gone awry. On the street, I overheard frantic whispers of families planning to move away from the region entirely. Meanwhile, I steeled myself for a final push. The official report was a half-truth at best. I suspected the government planned to bury the story. If these creatures were once the missing, maybe some horrific process turned them from captive humans into twisted monsters. I had nightmares of that shape scuttling across the forest floor, remembering the blank, tortured look in its eyes. Unable to quell my conscience, I convinced Jun we had to return. This time, we'd attempt to slip inside the base and find real proof. The vanishings demanded it. Despite the raw terror in both of our hearts, we prepared better. We took a small crowbar, flashlights, and night vision gear. We decided on a new approach from the southern fence line, where rumour spoke about an old drainage tunnel. We set out at dusk, wading through the hush of a partially evacuated town. Many neighbours had fled, leaving empty houses. Jun was pale, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I kept checking behind us, half expecting black SUVs. Night fell by the time we reached the drainage area, a shallow ravine running parallel to the fence. Indeed, a rusted opening poked out from beneath the chain-link barrier. The opening was narrow, maybe enough for a person to crawl through, if not for the iron bars. But some bars were corroded, leaving a gap. This had to be how some folks tried to sneak in, only to vanish. We forced aside the bent metal with the crowbar, each jolt sending shrill echoes through the air. Eventually, the gap was large enough and we slid through. Beyond the fence, the ground sloped upwards to a paved path. The base's interior spread out under a starless sky, dotted with occasional floodlights. If we were caught, best case scenario was arrest. Worst case scenario was a monstrous fate. I tried not to think about it. We crept among the shadows, staying low behind storage sheds and large shipping containers. A distant hum of generators thrummed. No guards in sight, which was odd for a so-called top-secret base. Perhaps staff had been evacuated or thinned out, or they were patrolling deeper inside. In a far corner, a ramp led down into what looked like an underground entrance, wide enough for vehicles. A sign overhead read, "Authorized personnel only." Perfect. With our steps echoing softly, we descended the ramp. The door at the bottom was heavy steel, but strangely, it was ajar, as if forced open. I didn't like this one bit. We glanced at each other. This was not normal security procedure. My flashlight revealed claw marks near the hinges. My mind jumped to what we saw before. Possibly it broke in or out. We slipped inside. Immediately, a stale chemical odour stung my nose. The corridor was lit by a flickering emergency light. We passed a guard station, empty, with chairs overturned. A half-eaten sandwich lay on the floor, Something had caused the sudden exodus. Deeper in, we reached a sign pointing lab wing to the right and holding pens to the left. That immediately set off alarm bells in my head, but we pressed on regardless. Our curiosity had to be sated. Following the hallway, we saw cells with observation windows, many smashed open from the inside. A nauseating stench of decay lingered. Something had happened here. Some experiment that turned men and women into them. In one cell, the door hung off its hinges. Inside, there was a single battered cot, straps undone, and the occupant gone. My flashlight found a spatter of blackish fluid on the wall and deep gouges in the tile floor. It looked like someone's nails had grown enough to carve stone. I gagged. A faint moan drifted from further down the corridor. Every atom in my body was screaming at me to run away. But we couldn't leave a survivor down here, if they were still alive. We hurried towards the sound, stepping over shattered glass. The corridor ended in a heavier door, locked from the outside with a code pad. Another moan from within. We felt compelled to try something. Jun fiddled with the keypad in vain. I tested the crowbar, but the door was too solid. We could barely hear it, but we swore we could hear someone pleading for help. So someone was alive in there, presumably locked away. But in the next second, the voice changed. It didn't sound human anymore. Something slammed against the door from the inside. We stumbled back, horrified. The door shook under repeated impacts, the moans devolving into monstrous growls. I'm not ashamed to say that our fear finally overcame our curiosity at that point. We retreated, stumbling down a side passage until we reached a mechanical room that reeked of fuel. Flickering fluorescent lights revealed a half-open hatch in the floor, possibly an escape route or a maintenance tunnel. Another distant screech echoed behind us. We had no desire to meet whatever roamed these corridors. So, we descended the hatch, hoping that we could find some way out. The hatch led to a narrow tunnel, pipes running overhead. Our flashlights caught glimpses of cryptic symbols painted on the walls, reminiscent of archaic runes. My logical side came to the surface. Why would a modern facility like this have such markings? Our steps sloshed in shallow water. We kept going. The tunnel was branching in bizarre ways, each corner feeling like stepping deeper into a labyrinth. Occasionally, we found strange growths along the walls, web-like structures, pulsing with faint luminescence. Jun snapped frantic photos, muttering, "What the hell is all this?" Our pace soon had to quicken, after hearing another horrible scream from the bowels of the base. After what felt like an eternity, the tunnel sloped upward, leading to a rusted metal door. Jun braced his shoulder, pushing. It gave way with a groan, revealing an external vent near the base's far side. We scrambled out into the open air, with the night sky above. The base's perimeter fence was maybe 50 yards away. Freedom was in sight. But, as we stepped away from the vent, a terrible shriek erupted from behind. One of those things had emerged from the same hatch, drawn by our scent or noise. In the faint starlight, we saw an outline of its body. It was oozing liquid from spines on its back. It also looked to be emitting so much heat that a faint mist could be seen emanating from it. Maybe it was once a missing hiker or soldier. Now, It was a monstrous abomination. Jun fired his camera's flash out of reflex. The creature reeled, letting out a tortured cry. We seized the moment, sprinting for the fence. The monster recovered fast, bounding in pursuit behind us. We reached the fence, frantically searching for the gap in the chain links. The creature closed in, each leap bridging yards at a time. We found the spot and half lifted the wire. Jun scrambled under first, screaming at me to hurry. I squeezed through, feeling the fence tear at my jacket. The monster lunged. Sharp claws raked the chain link inches from my face. I tumbled out the other side, rolling on the ground. The creature slammed the fence, howling in frustration, unable to pass. It glared, its eyes reflecting moonlight. It roared in seeming frustration once more, then slunk back into the darkness beyond the fence, presumably returning to the labyrinth below. We lay there panting in the dew-soaked grass. We couldn't believe what had just happened. If I wasn't with someone else, I doubt I would have believed it myself. Before dawn, we returned to town, half expecting pursuit. But thankfully, nothing happened. We pored over Jun's camera for evidence. The photos were horrifying. Twisted corridors, living webs, and most incriminating of all, a clear silhouette of the monster, hunched in the forest with dead milky eyes. We realized the truth. The vanishings were due to something inside that base. An experiment or phenomenon that mutated humans into monstrous forms. The official line about dozens gone missing was a half-truth. They knew. The base staff must have contained or studied these creatures. Perhaps they originated from that subterranean realm, or some botched program. That morning, I tried uploading everything to the Chronicle's server, but my computer jammed. The phone lines in the office were also dead. My editor soon told me forces from on high demanded we dropped the story. Government men had visited, citing national security. The newspaper was threatened with closure if we published. But we refused to be cowed. Jin and I made backups and found ways to leak the photos to online forums and to bigger media outlets. We braced for backlash. Meanwhile, the official missing person count soared to over 50, with new cases rumoured daily. The base remained locked down, their spokesman claiming unrelated developments. Locals fled in droves. 2 nights later, black SUVs arrived in High Point. Men in suits fanned out, visiting homes and businesses, persuading people to remain calm. They insisted a solution was in motion, that specialised teams would contain the situation at the base. Hints of a biohazard event circulated, but we knew the truth was worse. That same night, a pitched battle raged near the fence line. Locals reported gunfire, flares lighting the sky. Rumour said multiple creatures tried to break out en masse. The base's security responded with lethal force. By dawn, the gunfire had ceased. The official statement read, "Situation contained. Remain indoors." The next day, a hush fell upon the region. The missing presumably gone forever. The monstrous threat contained, or so they said. But no real answers came. Only a quietly revised official report, acknowledging unfortunate disappearances near a facility working on advanced defence research. Weeks have since passed. The swirl of rumours died down, overshadowed by new headlines. Some residents returned to normal life, but others moved away. The fences around the base remain, reinforced with new guard towers. The local authorities hush up any lingering strangeness. They say the monstrous presence is eradicated, but I suspect some remain hidden in the pines, or deeper underground. Jun and I also keep receiving cryptic messages, possibly from base insiders, hinting that the experiments continue, that the creatures are not fully destroyed. We still have our evidence, though the media labelled it a hoax or conspiracy. We watch the base's perimeter from a distance, waiting for the next sign of something creeping out at night. The vanishings have halted for now, but I can't shake the dread that it's only a lull before another wave. In the end, the best advice I can offer you is this: stay away from that fence line, from that base in the quiet hills. The disappearances might be overshadowed by new events, but do not forget them. Because if you slip out of sight near that perimeter, the official report might soon list your name too, lost among the dozens that have gone missing near that top secret base. And no one but the shadows will know what truly became of you. Macabre Horror here. I hope you enjoyed this horror story from a very talented author. Thanks so much for listening and supporting the channel. I'd appreciate if you could leave a comment below, as I love to hear from you all, and I'd appreciate if you can like and share, as that really helps as well. If you want more scary stories, check out the video or the playlist on screen.